Hi honeys, it's Michelle. Welcome to Books Cause Insomnia. I'm here today to do my monthly wrap-up. This video is about all the books that I read in May 2021. Hi Marty! My cat is here again. Huh, you just love these videos. The first book I read was Big Little Lies, which it feels like I read this 3 months ago. I've read so much since then. But May was such a good reading month for me. I didn't read too much. I didn't read too little. I read a lot of good books. They weren't all perfect or anything, but it was a really good month. This book was really different from the show. I thought it was better though. I thought it was so good. I give it 5 stars. I plan on rereading it. If you want to know more about what I thought about it, I'll put a tag of a review video that I did on this book up here so that you can watch that if you're interested in it. And I'll also put the link to the video down in the description box. And Big Little Lies. No, don't scratch that. No. He's trying to scratch my reading journal. I gave this 5 stars. Then I read The Invited by Jennifer McMahon. Ooh, that's the other thing. I found a few authors this month that I want to read again. I don't mean I want to reread the book. I mean, I want to read more books that they've written. So the last book, Liane Moriarty, I want to read more of her books. This book, Jennifer McMahon, I definitely want to read more of her books. So this book is about a couple named Helen and Nate. And they have abandoned city life and moved out in the country to build their dream home. And it turns out the land that they bought is haunted. And it's so good. It's very scintillating. I got chills when I was reading this. I was shocked when I read it. It felt haunting. This book was what ghost movies wish they were. There's so many movies out there that look so good, and then you watch the movie and it just fell flat. It was like, huh? Why was the ghost there? Did they ever figure it out? Or it wasn't haunting enough, or maybe it was too in your face, or whatever. This book is perfect. Now, as someone that loves ancestry, I found this book to be a beautiful telling of the bonds of women across generations. I do believe that we are connected with our ancestors, even though we might not think we are. I think that 3 or 4 generations back, we're still bonded and we're still together and we're still close. And we still have a lot of them in us. You know, I think we might have different talents. And it's like, where'd that come from? Maybe it was your great-great-grandfather. You know, like, it's kind of neat to think of that, right? I just love the mixture of history and suspense. Got hooked on this book right away. I do plan on rereading it someday, and I gave it 5 stars. That's one thing I have to mention. Maybe I'll do a video about this at some point, but for me to give a book 5 stars, I have to be so in love with it that I have to read it again at some point in my life, because I do like rereading books. Lately, I haven't been rereading a whole lot because I've been doing BookTube, but I used to reread a lot, and I didn't buy as many books. I just would kind of read through so many books every year that I would only have to buy a handful of books. This next book, Marty, your hair is just all over my world today. He's laying on the floor in front of me and he's hitting my foot with his tail. This was a book that was gifted to me by a booktuber that I really enjoy, and she sent it to me as a birthday gift, and I loved this book. It was so good. So this book is about a lady named Nora who has decided that she wants to end it all. She doesn't want to live anymore. And she ends up at this library where she gets to read different books that show her what her life would have been if she made different decisions. There was a life I wanted for her from the moment she stepped into the Midnight Library, and I was hoping that she would get to live this life at some point, or maybe even choose this life, because what she gets to do is she's reading these books and then she gets to choose which life she wants to live, which is just awesome. And I had a certain one that I wanted her to live. She did live the life in the book, but I'm not going to tell you if she chose that life, because that would defeat the whole purpose of you reading it, right? If you like books that are philosophical, that are about what does it all mean, this is the book for you. I really recommend it. I loved it. I think everybody should read it. Maybe everybody should read it their senior year of high school or at the beginning of college or something. I think it's that good. I think it's that important as well. And I want to read more of his books. I did also give this 5 stars. And there's probably about 25 pages that have excerpts that I wrote in my book journal. I mean, I'm into this book. I did do a reading vlog of this book where I got more in depth of my review. If you want to watch that, I'll put a link to that up here, and I'll also put a link to it down in the description box. I was trying to read The Project by Courtney Summers and, well, do an audiobook version of the book. And on page 183, I just decided to DNF it. I just didn't like the book. I couldn't get into it. The writing was okay. I'm not complaining about the writing so much. It's just, I guess I didn't care what happened. So this book is about this woman who gets in this accident, and her and her sister become orphans, and her sister ends up in a cult or something and abandons her basically while she's in the hospital recovering from the accident, and years later she's trying to find her sister. That's basically what the book is. The cult aspect of this book I didn't find very, enticing, and I got to where I didn't really care why her sister left or where her sister was. And I don't know. Now, as an audiobook, I didn't really care for the voice actors that did the book, so maybe that was my problem. Maybe if I actually read the physical book, I'd feel differently. If you read it, let me know. Tell me what you think, if I should give it another chance or not. But because I didn't actually read the whole book, I don't feel comfortable giving it a rating. Then I read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And I thought this book was spectacular. I read it I think it took me a day and a half to read it. I couldn't put it down. It was everything you want a thriller to be. Now the problem is, now that I've read it, I don't think I'll be rereading it, because this is the kind of book I feel like is only good the first time you read it, and then after that you know what happens, and it's not as exciting after that, if that makes sense. So because of that, I'm giving this 4 stars, but that's the only reason. It's just because I don't plan on rereading it. But I thought it was really good. This is the kind of book that will make people question how well they actually know their significant other, or just people in their lives in general. Do I really know this person? Are they really who they say they are? The other thing I think it might make anyone that reads it question is what they would do in different situations. How much are you willing to go through to stand by your partner? And only you can answer how far you're willing to go, or how much you're willing to get rid of or risk. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. It's just pretty thought compelling, and I definitely recommend it. The next book I read was Charlaine Harris Shakespeare's Landlord. I thought this was a good book. This is the first book in the Lily Bard series. As of right now, while I'm talking to you, I have read I'm on my 4th book in this series. And out of the 4 books, this one is my least favorite one. It's not that it's a bad book. It's just kind of slow. She's doing a lot of character development with all the different characters. She's doing a lot of town development with the town that she lives in, and then going into the main character's past and why she is the way she is, to the point where the murder in the book kind of falls to the wayside. Her landlord gets killed, and she's trying to find out why. And she kind of is a suspect for a little bit, so that's part of it too. But it definitely wasn't my favorite book in this series. So if you're interested in reading this, try to be patient with this book, because it is the first one in the series. It's not going to be as good as the other ones. They usually aren't, right? But I just love Charlaine Harris's writing, and I love her characters. There's something super cozy about it all, which for me is a breath of fresh air. I need all the coziness I can get in my life, especially after the year we all just went through. It's like, okay, now we can take a breath of fresh air and say, okay, it's time to start getting back to our lives, but we could still use a little bit of comfort and joy, right? I gave this book 3 out of 5, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was the second book in the series, Shakespeare's Champion. This one was so much better than the first one. It was fast-paced. It was wonderful. And the same characters come back, from book to book to book, which I really love. Charlaine Harris does have a much more adult way of doing cozy mysteries. There's swearing, there's sex. It's rated R. It's not PG. But I love them. And it's funny, this first one that I read was the one, if you've been watching these videos for a while, this is the one that has all the bad words crossed out. So I had to really what is it? Oh yeah, that's what it says. But I'm not sure why the original owner of the book felt it behooved them to cross out all the swear words when they're reading a Charlaine Harris book. Like, if you have a problem with that, why are you reading Charlaine Harris? There's so many other books you could be reading. Shakespeare's Champion, I gave 4 stars. There's just one element to it that I didn't like as much. I probably would even reread it. It's just, for me to do a 5-star, I have to reread it, be planning on rereading it, and there's nothing I would change about it. Where there was one thing I would have changed about Shakespeare's Champion. So I did give it 4 stars. Now, oh yeah, what's it about? Lily Bard, the main character, she went through something really traumatic in her past. And because of that, she is really concerned with protecting herself. So she lifts a lot of weights. She's really in shape. She does karate. And at the gym that she goes to, someone ends up murdered, a bodybuilder, at the gym when no one else is around. And so that's what the book is about, is trying to find out who killed him. And it was really good. It touched on a lot of things that we're dealing with now, which is funny too, because this book came out in, I think, 99 or 2000, and it takes place in Arkansas, and there's a lot of information about racism and dealing with it, and how racist some people can be, which is just shocking to me. I definitely recommend it. Just the whole series as a whole. If you liked Sue Grafton's The Alphabet series, you'll like Charlaine Harris's Lily Bard series. It's really good. Yeah, it's kind of funny. This book, I started doing this spring cleaning thing. It's kind of late to do it now, but yesterday I took everything out of our closet. I put all this organization stuff in there, all these new little cubicle things, and I went through and I got all the winter stuff out and brought all the summer stuff back in and decided what to get rid of and so on and so forth. And I was listening to this book, and I thought, well, I'll probably only listen to it for an hour or two, and then the rest of the time I'm cleaning, I'll probably put a movie on or something. Nope. I listened to it all the way through, and I was so into it that I started the next book in the series on audio book before I finished cleaning, because it took all day to go through all that organization stuff. But it was just so good. I couldn't stop listening. I loved it. And the voice actress for these books is really good, by the way. I have physical copies of them, but they also have the audiobooks on Scribd. And so I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool to listen and read, just kind of rotate between the two when I want. And I ended up with that last book, I just listened to the whole thing in one shot. It was so good. Well, that is everything that I read in the month of May. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. I love you. Bye.